What GGTOW is and how it will succeed. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, father of GGTOW, or gays going their own way. Now, I am more aware than anybody that I didn't actually coin the phrase, which was technically done by Our Cat's Gay, but literally everybody who has a YouTube channel that calls themselves a GGTOW will agree that this tribalistic label came into being as an eventual result of my videos about the current state of the gay male community and demographic at large. I wasn't necessarily realizing I would create this baby that we are calling GGTOW when I sowed my wild oats all over YouTube, but now that GGTOW has become an actual thing, I figure we need to bring this kid up right, nurture him in the necessary ways, but make sure we know how to keep him out of trouble. That said, I want to make it clear to people once again that I don't take on GGTOW as a personal label. Not me personally. Mainly because I don't like labels, even though for the most part, I am functionally a GGTOW. For the most part, day to day, I am a homosexual biological male that wants nothing to do with the LGBT community, which is why you almost never see me at gay bars. However, due to extensive personal ties with hundreds of people in the greater LGBT demographic, including numerous females and trans people that I am on at least reasonably good terms with, I do not wish to actively proclaim myself as somebody who is completely a gay separatist, because I feel that would be a dishonest and counterproductive stance for me to take as an individual. Rather, people should think of me as the GGTOW ambassador who has the largest public reach on the internet, as well as a firm understanding of the LGBTQIA++ political demographic after well over 20 years of living in the trenches with these people. I know exactly who we are dealing with, why they will hate the GGTOW movement, and how to deal with them effectively when they try to eradicate it. First things first, what people should be aware of is that while GGTOW can be a noun and an adjective, it's ultimately an action. Gays going their own way is very literally a movement. Not just in activist terminology, but because it is the mere act of biological men that are homosexuals separating themselves from other groups to have exclusive autonomy with each other, at least to a certain degree, at least sometimes. That's all that GGTOW is, and that's all that is within the words, in a linguistic sense. Personally, I think it's nice that GGTOW is an acronym and not an entirely invented word like feminism or something, because the parameters are defined within the actual characteristics of the phrase gays going their own way. The only point of clarification that potentially might need to be made here would be that when we say gay, we mean cisgender homosexual males. Because I've already gotten questions from trans guys wondering if trans guys could potentially be included, and the answer is no. This is a group for cisgender gay guys because we literally don't have any. So if you are a trans guy and you want a group to attend, go find your local female-to-male transgender support group or any of the gay male groups that are intersectional. I'm sure they meet at a nice place with lots of government funding, which we don't have. All GGTOWs really want is a few more spaces for gay men, and currently, the main threat that has been destroying the gay male community is coming from the inside out, which has been intersectional feminism. It's demanded to be first included into every gay male space that it can find, and then to become the law of the land, and then it's no longer a gay male space. This is unacceptable, and it needs to stop. Now, there are countless different ways to combat intersectional feminism. Some of us get paid to do it on YouTube. However, one idea which our Cat's Gay definitely did come up with when he coined the phrase GGTOW was that gay men need to break away from our temporary alliance with the rest of the LGBTQIA++ and renegotiate our terms for future relations as if we are a sovereign nation. In that, I believe he is probably correct, which is why I am making this video to explain the concept thoroughly as a strategic endeavor for the wellness of the gay male demographic. And it's also why I will be hosting a playlist of guys that are calling themselves GGTOW on my channel below my video, hoping to show the world that it's more than just 2 or 3 of us that feel this way. Feminism has long abused gay men psychologically, which is something that I've made an entire playlist about, so I won't rehash it here. However, what I haven't spent all that much time stressing is that the feminists who currently almost unanimously control LGBT media and nonprofits also have abused gay men financially for far too long, and GGTOW might be completely necessary to put a stop to this. Who do you think donates the most money every year to LGBT charities? It's wealthy gay men, hands down. They assume the money is going to a good place and that young men won't be shamed for being themselves by the very people that they are giving money to, because they thought that that was the purpose of donating to pride festivals to begin with. But alas, places like the Toronto Pride Festival have done things like boot the Canadian Association for Equality due to the fact that they pay gender-specific attention to male issues from a non-feminist school of thought. And everybody knows that we can't go a few days on the internet without being bombarded with negativity from feminist media about gay men being problematic in some way. That said, priority number 1 for GGTOW should not just be separating oneself as an individual from these types of toxic people, or simply making it loud and clear that you will personally no longer tolerate this type of emotional and psychological abuse, but more so, make it clear that you will actively boycott every feminist slanted organization that has anything to do with gay men, and clarify why you are doing this to everybody you know. We can make no compromises here, as part of negotiation is knowing when you are in a position to make demands. In this case, we as gay men need to demand that feminism have no more control over the gay male communities in all of the cities that it has a stranglehold on. Thus, we need to boycott. It is unacceptable for any gay man to be giving his hard-earned money to feminists that would seek to rob him of everything he loves about himself as a man, his friends as men, and his lovers as gay men. They are hoping to beat the masculinity and independent thinking out of him, and then get a thank you and a paycheck for doing so. So let's let them know that we're shopping with our dollars, and that the answer is no more. That's just the first item of business, and it will take years. But what I want people to know is that the term GGTOW itself is extremely pliable and could apply to other situations, such as an eventual future with religious extremists or something that might potentially garner unfavorable control over gay men in our own communities. Thus, I want to write in stone the 3 rules of GGTOW that shall be obeyed. And I will personally be a complete hard ass about just these 3 rules as the father of this movement. 1. GGTOW is an action that can only be taken by cisgender homosexual men. Nobody besides a gay man can identify as a GGTOW or do anything that is GGTOW. Though we appreciate all your nice thoughts, but you can't be a GGTOW. It's just not how things are. 2. GGTOW is an action designed with the sole purpose of both self-betterment and the betterment of the gay male community exclusively. When somebody is doing something that they want to call GGTOW, it is to help gay men and nobody else, though they are more than welcome to help out others when they aren't doing GGTOW stuff on the side. 3. Anybody who wants to change rules 1 and 2 will actively be shunned by the greater sphere of people who call themselves GGTOW, because they obviously missed the point of this movement. Now, these rules sound simple enough, right? Gay men is for gay men only, to help gay men only, and anybody who disagrees with such a premise is out of the group. Seems fair, right? Well, it turns out that we've literally already had challengers to this notion, trying to make it more open to basically any gay guy who wants to join up. But that simply won't do. GGTOW has to have a very specific intention if it's going to survive, and it needs to have a foolproof mechanism within itself that keeps it from being corrupted. Because I know how the intersectionals work, and once they realize that GGTOW is a threat not just to their ideology intellectually, but potentially to their money that comes from rich gay men, the intersectionals will want to destroy GGTOW. The way they'll do it will be as follows. First, they'll call it transphobic and say that it reminds them of TERFs, which is asinine if you actually follow how TERFs behave, which I've done, and I can assure you that their trans exclusionary nature is the least unsavory thing about them. It's not that they exclude trans women, it's that they stalk them and try to drive them to suicide. I've seen it. No, GGTOW is nothing like trans exclusionary radical feminism. Mainly because GGTOW is not an ideology that hates non-biologically gay men. And really it never can be. At least not as a greater overall concept. It can be to some guys for a personal philosophy or whatever, but ultimately it's really just those 3 rules that I said. It's the action of cisgender gay men working to prioritize their own needs as gay men, while giving each other the support that only they can offer to other gay men. That's it. Of course, the next thing the intersectionals will try to do to GGTOW is to infiltrate, and that's a little bit more dangerous. They'll do so by sending in double agent homosexual males that will try to pull some sort of gender deconstructionist nonsense, hoping to get GGTOWs to admit that they'd be better off if they allowed trans guys to call themselves GGTOW, and that GGTOW should also care about lesbians and bisexual women because reasons. They'll go from there, and if you make a single compromise with them, they'll think they can erode GGTOW, and if you made a compromise, they probably can. Thus, I'm letting you know right now that any gay man who says anything about GGTOW being more inclusive to different genders and how they want it to be more inclusive or more inclusive to guys that are inclusive, those guys will actively be excluded by this movement. And that needs to be very, very firm if you are going to be calling yourself a GGTOW. If you want and expect this movement to go somewhere, be warned that the intersectional feminist, social justice people can, will, and have taken over basically every organization for social change that they've come into contact with. So making sure they cannot do this to GGTOW must be part of the rules to GGTOW. Any gay man that seeks to change what GGTOW is happens to have placed himself as diametrically opposed to GGTOW, because he is showing that he is completely disinterested in maintaining the purpose of a movement that aims to benefit gay males in the long run. But let's hope we don't get too many of these guys. We'll probably get a few. Now, will GGTOW always be a relevant thing? Honestly, hopefully not. Hopefully, in 5 or 10 years, gay men will have achieved the necessary autonomy we are currently fighting for, and we won't have to think much about how to keep gay male spaces gay. Hopefully, we'll have plenty of gay spaces like we did 10 years ago where we can be ourselves and have fun. But until then, GGTOW is necessary. And aside from these 3 rules, the rest is up to you as individuals, as I can't possibly pretend to know all of the answers for every individual gay man's self-improvement or how to improve every aspect of the gay male community beyond helping gay men find self-respect and moving beyond feminist dogma, because that's a specialty of mine. GGTOW will ultimately be whatever individuals want it to be if they feel inclined to take on the personal label, which remember, I technically haven't even done. However, just don't knowingly break these 3 rules, or you simply aren't a GGTOW. Good luck out there. You'll need it.